So you want to get better at golf, you want to lower your scores and you want to enjoy it more. But what do you actually need to do in order to achieve that? Well, today in this video, we're going to show you the 3 things that you must do if you're to improve your golf and play better. So welcome back to the Forest of Arden. We're out here on the front 9. And as I've already said there, in this video, we're going to show you the 3 things that you have to do if you want to improve your golf. These are the non-negotiables. These are the things that every single golfer who plays this game to a high level does exceptionally well. Just before we get started, if you are new here or you're not a subscriber, there is a clickable link down below, or there is a clickable link at the end of the video. So what are you going to learn in this video? Well, you're going to learn how swing speed is really important. You're going to learn how low point is really important. And you're also going to learn how controlling the club face is absolutely key to the development of your golf. Now in this video, just before we go into it, little disclaimer, these are going to be skill developments. These are no drills, there's no quick fixes here. These are just the skills that you need to develop in order to play some better golf. So, if we're looking at what we need to do to get better at golf, what we really should be doing is looking at the golfers who play this game to a high level and saying, well, what do they all do? Now, we know that they don't all grip the golf club in the same way. They don't all stand to the golf ball in the same way. They don't all have the same backswings. So there's lots of things that they don't all do. But there are a few things that they do. And that's what we want to try and look at in this video. So we're going to go from tee shot pretty much through to the green. So what do they all do? They all hit the ball far enough to play the golf course. So what do we mean by that? Well, it really depends on where you play your golf. So if I joined a par 3 course and the longest hole was 150 yards and I never played anywhere else, I'd only need to hit the ball 150 yards. But if I then maybe got invited to play in the US Open, 150 yards isn't enough. I need to hit it 300, 350 because the holes are obviously much longer. So we need to be able to hit the ball far enough to play the golf course. And for many of you watching, you unfortunately won't. There will be holes on your course that you can't reach in 2. There'll be holes where you're having to go in the 3-wood when you'd like to be going in with an iron. So you're not hitting the ball far enough to play the golf course. So what we can try and do is we can try and develop that by adding some swing speed. So this is by Swing Speed Golf. It's a training aid to help me generate some more club head speed. Like I said at the start, we're not going to give you any drills here. We're going to give some ways to develop these skills, because the things that the golfers all do are skills. They're skills that they acquire, and they're skills that we can work on in practice. So how do I use this? Well, very simply, I take this, which is pretty much the same length as my driver. It's got a weight on the end, and this has actually got a complete system where the weights change and you can use heavy and light, and there's a whole program to go through. But what we're actually going to do here is actually just going to practice swinging this really, really fast. Sounds obvious, but this is very, very good in terms of trying to get your body to move faster. So all I would do is I would use this in practice, and I'd probably make a few swings just trying to move this as quick as I can. So I'd take my normal setup, just hover it, and I'm just going to practice creating some speed. Now, I don't need this to look exactly like my golf swing. I need it to replicate it in some way. I need to take roughly a posture. And then there's other ways we can do it. So the other way would actually be where we turn around and we swing this left-handed. So again, we're just trying to generate some speed out into the club head. So when we're thinking about speed, we often, search for that magic answer, or do I use the ground, or do I create lag, or do I create separation? But actually, just getting out there and just trying to swing something really, really fast and doing that over a period of time can actually really help you when you then step into the driver, because what you've actually done is you've trained your body to go fast. And that's really what we're trying to do. Again, it's a development of a skill as opposed to a changing of a golf swing. If we can develop the skill of being able to move fast, we can start to get the club head to move faster, and we can start to hit the ball further. So the first thing that all the good golfers do is they hit the ball far enough to play the golf course. Add a bit of speed, a bit of distance to your game, and you'll be right alongside them, hitting the ball as far as you need to when you're out there. On to number 2. So the next thing we're going to discuss in this video, and again, every single golfer that plays this game to a high level does this, is they all hit the ground in the correct place every single time. That place being target side of the golf ball. And we are predominantly talking here about the golf shots that you hit from the fairway. So this would exclude driver, and obviously bunkers and putting are maybe slightly different. But if we look at the best golfers who play this game, they are all very, very good at hitting the ground, target side of the ball, and doing that consistently. if we see the high handicap golfers, or as those handicaps go higher and higher and higher, we start to see that skill diminish a little bit. So a high handicapper would be quite varied in where they hit the ground. They may well hit the ground, target side of the ball, and it's a good shot, but the next one would be before the ball. It might be where the ball is, it might be too far after the ball. It's quite varied. And so if we can get the golf club to land target side of the golf ball, we should be able to make quality contacts every single time. Now, depending on the club you're using and depending on where that club hits the ground, this won't mean that you're always taking a divot. That's not what we're saying, but what we are saying is we want the golf club to land target side of the ball as often as we can. Very simply, the more that you can get that to happen, the better you will hit the ball at the middle of the club and the better at this game you can be. Now, I've got a little device here called the fat plate, which I use during coaching. I've used this for quite a while now. Love this, great, gives me some great feedback during my coaching. So you can see I've got the golf ball in there, but if I were to remove the golf ball, as we said in sort of section number 1, we're looking at developing skills. So we don't really want you to be thinking here about what you're going to do, but more a case of creating a situation, i.e. here where the fat plate is, and making some little swings and just practicing getting my golf club to land in the same place every single time. I want to be, number 1, pretty good at controlling where the club is hitting the ground, and then number 2, being really good at repeating that, so I can do it over and over and over. Hopefully, watching me do that little exercise looks relatively easy. Trust me, when I do this with clients, those high handicap golfers, they really struggle. It looks quite easy, and they're often quite surprised at how inconsistent they are with their ground contact, but that's unfortunately one of the reasons why they're playing off their handicap that they might be. So very, very simple little setup here. I can use a bag towel if I haven't got this, or I can use this device if I've got one. And I just really want to be practicing landing the golf club in the same place every single time. Then change golf clubs and go to a different one. That was a 6, this is now an 8. But the task is still exactly the same. I still want my golf club to land in the same place every single time. So each one of those little motions that I've made would have given me a pretty good strike. And all the good golfers that we see, they do that. They strike the ball well, and it's because they hit the ground in the same place every single time. So you're now hitting the ball absolutely miles, certainly far enough to play the golf course. You're hitting the ground in the same place every time, so your strike's great. So the last thing you really need to be able to do is kind of have some control over that ball flight. And so the third thing that every good golfer does is they have a controllable and more importantly, a predictable curve on the golf ball. Now, it's really important how we kind of phrase that, because they don't all hit it on the same shape. They don't all draw the ball or fade the ball. They don't all move the ball by the same amount through the air. You'll see some golfers hit the ball pretty straight. Some will have, you know, more of a pronounced curve, but it's always predictable and it's always controllable. And if you think about your golf game, you know, if you're a high handicapper, you know, the shots that you lose are very often because you stand there and you'll slice the ball into the trees, or you'll hook the ball into the rough on the left, or you'll miss the green with your iron shots. And so you don't maybe have as much control over that curve. Now, if we want to have a little bit more control over that curve, what we're actually going to try and get you to do is learn how to control the club face. Because if my club path is to the right of the target or to the left of the target or pretty straight, I can still have those things. I can still have a controllable, predictable curve, provided I can position the club face relative to that in some way. So this is the little exercise I want you to go through. And again, we're keeping this theme of, you know, not maybe swing changes, but exercises and drills that you can do in practice to develop your skill. So here's what I want to do. And it's quite difficult for me to illustrate this in the video. Hopefully I can do this with what's going to appear on the screen. So I'm going to go stand on the drive range. I'm going to pick myself a target down on that range. Could be one of the yardage boards, could be a tree at the distance, whatever it may be. And all I really want to try and do is make a golf swing where my golf swing looks fairly normal, but I deliver the club face excessively closed. Now, whatever I have to do that is fine. I don't want you to overthink it. Just think about delivering the club face closed. Hopefully the ball is going to go severely left. The next golf swing I want you to do is to try and leave the face open, and the ball is going to go severely right. We then want you to try and hit the third shot and get that ball to go somewhere in between those two, so pretty much towards your target. So it's club face control. We're trying to deliver a club face which is excessively closed, excessively open, and then pretty square. Now, initially, it doesn't really matter how far left or how far right those first two shots go. But over time, what we'd hope would happen as this skill starts to develop and you get more control of that club face, is you would be able to control the club face and have it slightly closed. So the ball would go a little bit left. Then you'd have it slightly open, the ball would go slightly right. And you can start to really predict where you position that golf club down at impact. The key thing here would be if you can control the club face and you can almost choose where you position it at impact, trust me, you can play this game. If you couple that with the fact that you're going to strike the ball better and you're hitting the ball further, those are the things that all the good golfers do. They all do that. You're not going to see Rory McIlroy standing there winning the US Open, slicing the ball uncontrollably. You know, they all control the curve. They all strike the ball incredibly well. They all hit the ball far enough that they can play the golf course. It's quite simple when we think of the game in that fashion. Now, obviously this excludes putting and bunkers and drive and all that kind of stuff, but this is kind of the main part of the game, the shots that you hit from the ground that many golfers struggle with. So I'm going to stand here. This is a 5-iron. I'm going to try and make a normal golf swing, but obviously in practice you would do that little exercise that we said, where the ball would go excessively left, excessively right, and then hopefully pretty straight. Now that shot I've just hit there wasn't the club I'd hit of this tee, but that's a great example of something that I would like to be able to do on the golf course. I've hit the ground exactly where I needed to. The ball flight was pretty straight, it was predictable, and it was controllable. And I've hit the ball far enough, not with a 5-iron at this tee, but that's far enough to play the golf course. That's why I can play and shoot the scores that I can. And if we can start to get you in practice to develop these skills, you can start to elevate your game, you can start to lower your scores, you can start to enjoy it a little bit more. The key thing and the real takeaway I want you to have from this video, it's not swing change. We're not trying to change the backswing, change the downswing. We're thinking about the key skills that you need and how you can develop them in practice. That's how you get better at golf. Now, you might have swing changes to make these things more likely to happen, but ultimately, if we can develop those skills in your game, trust me, you can play the game to a higher level. And I'm guessing as you're clicking on this video, that's exactly what you want to do. So hopefully that was a slightly different video, but some information which you can use next on your practice, and certainly next 6 months, next year, next 6 years. This information is going to be relative as long as you play this game. Work on these skills, develop them, and you can improve your golf game. Thanks for watching. Usual stuff is down below. Comments box, like button, give it a thumbs up if you did like this, and please share it with a friend who you think might be able to use this information to help their golf game as well. Thanks for watching. We'll hopefully see you back here again soon.